It's 6 minutes after 9 o'clock on a Monday morning, this July the 13th. Welcome on in. This is The Point, and this is Colatown, our city, our stories. Happy to have you on board. Thank you for listening in. I'm Kevin Cohen. We're together from now until 10 o'clock, and our first guest is a rising rock star. That's what I've been told. No, I know what Ryan Coleman's all about. He's doing some great work, Director of Economic Development, at a time when it's really a cool time to be the Director of Economic Development in our city. He's here to join us for the first half of the program. Ryan, good morning.
Hey, good morning. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks for coming in.
Absolutely.
Happy to have you here. So what I like to do when I get guests in here, especially if it's first-time people that I haven't had a chance to interview on Colatown, is I like to give you a chance to tell us a little bit about your story and how you got here and how you got into the job, how long you've been in the Midlands area, in Columbia and all that. And then we'll kind of get into a little bit about what the department does and what economic development within the city is all about. But I want to get to know you a little bit first, Ryan. So tell me a little bit about your story. How long have you been with the city, and how'd you get here?
Sure. So I'm a South Carolina native. I grew up an hour away from here in Saluda, South Carolina, and came here for college.
We were just talking about some of our farmers in Saluda that bring us Wagyu and Hereford beef. It's H&J cattle over there.
Probably,
and you probably know either Duncan or Chad or those guys out there. But anyway, Saluda's beautiful.
Yeah, and but there's not a lot to do in Saluda. And
this
it's kind
is
of
true.
in the middle of everywhere else, Newberry, Greenwood, Augusta, Lexington. So came here for college, came in 99. I've spent over half my life in Columbia now, so I'm pretty native to the area. Graduated in 2004 and really didn't have a plan at that point. Graduated with an economics degree, so I was working around. I was at Blue Marlin, California Dreamin', a bunch of other places. And I got the opportunity to work with the city in 2006. A friend of mine had worked at the department before, and he got me a referral. And so I started off with the city in 2006, working primarily with existing businesses. And I don't know that the intent at the time was ever to stay in Columbia long term, or
funny how that happens,
or to work in government long term at that too. But I started, and I found I really liked working with our existing businesses. It gives you kind of an opportunity to go out and meet with people, help them resolve their issues, but you get to see a lot of the services and products that people provide, how they make what they make. And so that was a pretty rewarding job to start off in, and over the years have just kind of gradually worked my way up through the city. And obviously since 2006, a lot has changed around here. The momentum in Columbia is really positive right now.
Sure
There's
is.
been a lot that's happened just in the past 5 years alone. And so to work in the city and to be involved in some of these projects when they come in, when these new developments happen, it's pretty interesting to be involved in that, to kind of know what's going on the front end before a lot of these things are actually built and developed. So.
And go back to what you're talking about, how you worked at the Blue Marlin and all of that with Bill Dukes and with Ryan and the gang over there. You know what it's like to be not with a franchise but with a local, with someone, and to me, Ryan, I'm all about local and mom and pop.
Yes.
That's what our radio station here is built on, and that's if you look at our little banner over here, Columbia's local talk radio experience, and locals all in caps. We're all about mom and pops, and I think when you're talking about what you do, economic development, certainly, we want to bring in big companies, we want to bring in little companies, we want to bring in anybody that wants to invest in our community. I get that, but it starts with mom and pops.
Right, absolutely.
And I know, and you've got a taste of that because you climbed up understanding that.
Yeah, and so it takes a blend of things. I mean, you want your local businesses to grow and be successful. I mean, from what I've found, the local businesses really have the character. They really add that flavor to the community. I mean, obviously we need national change, and we need outside investment to bring dollars and investment into the community. But the boutique, the small businesses are really where it's at. They're typically the ones that have the strong relationships with your citizens, that show up at the Soda City Market on the weekends.
Absolutely.
They're all the places. But they are also the ones that, from a business perspective, they have the most work to do. If you're locally owned, you might be putting in 60 to 80 hours a week just to keep your business up and running, and that's a lot.
As I often tell folks, and again, you're eminently qualified to agree with this if you choose to. It's I have nothing against the Nationals. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'd love for McDonald's or Coca-Cola to call me and say, "Hey, Kevin, we want to be a big advertiser on your radio station. Here's thousands and thousands of dollars a month." That's not who I am. It's not what we are at the radio station. But what I was going to say, where I feel like you can agree with me on, it's the mom and pops that are going to be the ones that are going to sponsor your kid's soccer team and your band and that kind of stuff. They're going to be the ones that are really going to step up in the community and help. And that's why I urge people to be so supportive of local and not lose sight of that, because it's so easy now to sit on your couch with your smartphone and order something and have it delivered to your door. But that's not keeping any money in Columbia.
Right. And even when we're, going out and recruiting businesses or retailers or restaurants, we're typically looking for something that's, maybe more regional. Like, you don't need to recruit a franchise. Like, franchises are national. They've got big research departments. They know where they're going to go. We look for things that are kind of unique and are going to add flavor to the community, something that you're not going to find in like a franchise or a national chain type tenant.
Yeah. Well, and again, I think it's important to note that, yes, we're out there recruiting. The city is out there recruiting. When Mayor Rickenman's in here with us, one of our callers always asks the same question, and that is, when are we getting our Apple Store? When are we getting our Apple Store? And of course we want that to come to Columbia, and of course we want to see some of the big names, because with it, there's usually a domino effect, kind of like what we see with Scout Motors. There's going to be big development all over the Midlands area because of Scout Motors, we hope, with sub-companies and things like that. But to go out and bring a national company in is great, but ultimately it's the local ones that are going to be the ones that are going to keep the city growing. How are we dealing, though, with the growth? I mean, South Carolina is the fastest growing state in the United States. Columbia is averaging 28 new people a day coming here to the Midlands area. This is not a bad time to be in your position at all. Right.
No. Certainly, coming out of COVID, there was a lot of concern about what was going to happen, and that was a pretty interesting first year after that. But I think from what we've seen, the trend is that there's a lot of people from the Northeast and the Midwest. They're moving south. We're picking up some of that momentum. The imminent opening of the Scout plant's helping with that. 30 new people a day moving into the area. A lot of residential development going on downtown, and of course city council's prioritizing density, verticality, urban infill. So the plus is that Columbia is on a lot of people's radar right now, for the right reasons, and we're seeing a lot of interest. We're kind of having to counterbalance that against getting financing for things these days is really tough to do. And so when developers come in and look at doing new projects, or somebody wants to open a new business, there's a lot they've got to work through from a cost standpoint, to make a project feasible.
For
and
sure.
It's tougher than it's ever been. Construction costs are up, financing up.
No doubt.
It's just working your way through the process and hopefully getting it across the finish line.
I hear you. Well, sit tight. Don't move. We're going to do our first break. We'll come on back. We got Ryan Coleman with us, the Director of Economic Development for the City of Columbia. You are listening to Colatown, Our City, Our Stories, on the Point. Good morning. Good morning and welcome back in. This is Colatown, Our City, Our Stories. I'm Kevin, and I am happy to have in the studio with me Ryan Coleman, who's the Director of Economic Development, and we're talking about the growth of the Midlands and the growth of Columbia and the fact that there's so much going on in a positive way. And, Ryan, you were talking about coming out of COVID, the challenge for everybody, but for business owners coming out of COVID and the uncertainty that came along with it. Now you look at where we are in 2026, which is where we versus where we were 5-6 years ago. And not only do you see the coming out of COVID, but you look at the things that are advantages in the city that we didn't have before. You got the attractions with the Finley Parks of the world now open and stuff like that. There's just so many things right now that, again, to try to make your life easier in the sense that the growth of South Carolina, the momentum of Columbia right now is really strong.
Right. Yeah. And I kind of equate it to being out in Vegas and playing poker. Every time we get one of these wins, we go back to the table and we push the chips back in. And so when Fenway Park opened, we start highlighting that to people. When the Kessler Group comes in and looks at, Washington Square, we're pushing that information out to people. We're pushing Scout Motors out to people, and then that success then in turn gets other people interested in the area, and so we've got more developers and businesses that are looking in. But these, not everything's a home run at the end of the day, but the base hits add up too, right? And so
Great point.
The message is just you get these wins, whether it's a little one or a big one, and you just push it back in and you keep flipping that. And I think that's a strategy that's paying off. We've also focused a lot on commercial development and bringing residential downtown. With office presence not being quite what it was a couple of years ago, Columbia's got a significant opportunity with having more people living downtown, who go to the markets, who go out on nights and weekends. I think the transformation of the residential component downtown has really been significant in Columbia's evolution over the years, going all the way back to when student housing came down to the hub. I mean, that was the first thing that really demonstrated that we could have a night and a weekend capacity here. It was just 8 to 5, Monday through Friday on Main Street back then.
Right. It's incredibly different now with Main Street and what it's become. And you look at the city and you see you've got your different areas. You've got your Main Street that you were just talking about, and you got your Vista, and you've got your 5 Points and your Divine Street. And now, of course, with Bull Street being what it is, and the development there is pretty exciting to say the least. You've got different areas that are all seeing success at this time, and that's a fun thing. Talking to the mayor a lot, he talks about this word that he always loves to use is connectivity. He wants people to be able to live downtown, not have to get in a car, but be able to go from there to Finley Park, from Finley Park to the Vista, from the Vista. He wants people to be able to get from A to B to C to D without danger in terms of like traffic hazards, and he wants people to be able to do all these things. And that's just what you guys are doing. And I say this as a compliment to you and to the city, Ryan, is I see that you are not just saying, let's bring businesses in, but you're saying, let's do this in a way that's going to add to the quality of life for everybody.
Right.
And that's critical.
I think one of the criticisms we've always heard is that Columbia's got these business districts in these areas, but they feel a little bit like islands at some point. And so you're right, the connectivity between places like Main Street and the Vista, you've got to cross Assembly Street to get from Main Street to the Vista, and that feels intimidating to folks. But, we want that synergy between all the districts so that people, feel compelled to go one place or the other. Columbia can be car-centric sometimes. People always want to drive right to the front of the place where they want to go and shop. We want to encourage people to get out and walk. And the way you do that is by having restaurant retail, having things at the street level that are going to encourage people to go that next block and that next block that welcome them in. And so there's been a lot of growth in that area over the past few years too that I think is really encouraging, but still more work to do.
Well, and that's where I was going to go next. In our final 7-8 minutes together, I wanted to talk about what is next because, again, I hate to keep going back to my visits with Mayor Rickenman, but he comes in, he takes calls on a regular basis from our listeners here at The Point. And Ryan, one of the things we talk a lot about is we want these full-service hotels, and we want to see that coming in. And there's only so many locations you can do that's going to be prime locations where a hotel would be interested. But there's that, and then there's just making sure that the city, which maybe before your time and even a little before my time, we were so scared of being vertical in this city, going vertical. And now I think that people are starting to shy away and not be so scared of going more vertical so that we have the opportunity to do more in Columbia.
Right. And that's where it gets challenging with the financing of these. But, obviously the more vertical you go, you get, you have to do steel and concrete build. It just increases the cost of that. But what we've been able to demonstrate is that these projects can come in, they can push, rents and lease rolls up and get the numbers that they need to make on the other side. So, you've got that success happening with other projects here. You've got things like Fenway Park, and then, we're really talking a lot these days about Bull Street and the opportunities on the riverfront right now, which are kind of, I think, the two biggest carrots that we can put out there from a city standpoint. People are really interested. The Hughes development, they've demonstrated success over at Bull Street. They've got 2 new retailers and Jenny's Ice Cream and all these new places that are opening up. I think there's 2 new places opening up next month out there. Hotel coming in out there, an office build, and then the riverfront is just going to be very significant. It'll take us 4 or 5 years to get to where we've got the park in place, but developers are very interested about the opportunities on Hugie Street around that, and I think that's going to be a really a marquee piece for the city of Columbia,
which is good because in the past it's almost been an eyesore at times. Then I know it's been a pain in mayor's rear end with what's gone on with Capital City Stadium and the legal issues and this and that, and he gets very frustrated, and he's been very vocal about his frustration. But once that is another area that does finally get figured out, there's another new area, if you can think about it that way, that's going to be very, very good. And what you were just talking about with the river, that's another part of that connectivity that we're going to have that we haven't had. So I feel like there's so many things. Let me ask you about the convention center,
yes.
Because a lot of talk about wanting to expand the convention center. Is that got legs? Is there something there?
We've still been looking at it. I think there is the want at the local level to expand that, to add the capacity, and get a hotel over there that can truly serve the convention center from a facility standpoint. So I know that the city's been looking at it in partnership with Richland County. So a lot of work still to be done there. Well,
and one of the things I know we're trying to do in the city is we're trying to say, well, don't come for 1 day, come for 3 days. And that means bigger conventions, bigger convention center would bring bigger conventions. But you got to have the hotel space and you got to have the full service hotel space where they can serve room service and have banquet halls and that kind of stuff. All of that, it's kind of like, what comes first, the chicken or the egg kind of thing, and putting all that stuff together. It's a pretty big endeavor.
Well, and the numbers are trending up too. I mean, we went from 16.4 million visitors in 24 to 17.3 in 25. So more people are coming to the city, and as Fenway Park and these new amenities come on, you're going to continue to see that year-over-year traffic increase from a visitor standpoint. And I think you're going to see more people with heads and beds type nights too, as we have more things to do around here, concerts, events, sporting. I mean, all of these things bring people in. That's getting a lot of interest from folks who are in the hotel community. You mentioned full service hotels. We are very focused on those right now. So for us to compete and get an NCAA tournament bid, we need those full service hotels because that's part of the bid package requirement. Yep. And so that's where City Council and our ED committee has actually focused on. We want to prioritize the incentives that we do towards those because we want to fill that gap. We want to be competitive for those tournaments in the future because they bring a lot of spotlight on the city and they're good tourism events too.
No doubt. Yeah, no doubt. I mean, I think back when we did have the tournament here and it was like, hey, Mike Krzyzewski from Duke has become like an ambassador for the city of Columbia, speaking about how much Columbia and how hospitable we are and this and that. And if we can do that on a regular basis and bring in people from 6-7 universities, that's big. I mean, we're already doing stuff like that with Fort Jackson and graduations. But again, those full service hotels kind of been a disqualifier for us in not getting these bids. So that's another reason why we need them and all. Going back to what you were talking about, timetable-wise, what do you think? You mentioned about Hugie Street and this and that. The river area has been something that finally we're going to be able to develop, but it's got to be like parks. You're not going to. I don't want people to get fooled into thinking we're going to have a bunch of like restaurants down at the water level because we can't risk that with flooding and all that.
Right. There's a certain area near the river that's floodplain, and you can't build in that because that's where the water rises during these heavy storm events. So I think a lot of the actual commercial development will be right along Hugie Street, and we've heard a lot from the community. I think the intent with the park is very clear that we want to have amenities out there, but we also want to prioritize natural resources. the layout of the land and incorporate those things in there. We want it to be educational, recreational, but we don't want to feel like that we've infringed on this beautiful natural habitat. So it's designing the park with keeping the nature part preserved, but doing it in a way that complements commercial development where it makes sense.
Yeah, well, I'm just going to tell you, I think you guys are doing a phenomenal job, and riding the wave, if you would, and growing the wave has been exciting because, as you mentioned, I can mention the riverfront, you can mention Bull Street, I can mention this, this is not just a one project community right now. There's things going on all over, and there's a lot of positive momentum all around the Southeast when people talk about Columbia, South Carolina. So congratulations.
Thanks a lot. Now, some days it does feel very much like the dog that caught the bumper of the car, and now we're trying to figure out kind of where to go with it next. But really exciting times to be in the city, and we get energized just hearing the feedback from you and other people who are excited to see these things happening as well.
Very, very excited. Well, I appreciate you coming in for Colatown.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming in. Ryan Coleman joining us, our Director of Economic Development for the City of Columbia. When we come back, we'll talk about the Columbia Fire Department and give you a chance to learn more about what they're doing and how they're looking to grow also. Stick around. Much more to come. This is Colatown on the Point.